In this video I will show you how to replace the front brake pads and brake rotors on 2011 to 2018 Volkswagen Jetta. Step number 1. Park the car on a flat surface, activate the emergency brake and place blocks in front of and behind the rear wheels for safety. 2. Lift the front of the car using a hydraulic floor jack and place jack stands under the chassis for safety. 3. Remove the front wheel bolts using an impact tool and a 17mm socket. Once the wheel bolts are removed, proceed to remove the front wheels. 4. Insert a small pry bar or flathead screwdriver into the caliper slot and lever between the disc and the brake pads to compress the piston slightly and make it easier to remove the brake caliper. 5. Remove the anti-rattle spring using pliers as shown in the image. 6. Remove the rubber caps covering the caliper bolts by prying outward on the edge. 7. Remove the caliper slide pins holding the caliper using a ratchet and a 7mm hex socket. 8. Remove the caliper by pulling it out with your hands. 9. Remove the inner brake pad from the caliper by pulling it away from the piston to release the locks shown in the image. 10. Hang the caliper with a hook to avoid damaging the brake line. 11. Remove the screw holding the brake disc using a ratchet and a socket with a Torx tip number 27. 12. Remove the disc by simply pulling it out with your hands. Note: if the brake disc is stuck, hit it around the edges with a rubber mallet. 13. Once the disc is removed, clean any impurities and rust from the contact surface between the bearing and the disc as well as the edges where the brake pads sit using a wire brush. 14. Apply a small layer of anti-seize compound on the contact surface between the disc and the bearing and install the new brake disc in its original position and install the screw holding it and tighten it firmly. 15. Clean the new brake disc on both sides using brake cleaner and a clean towel. 16. Open the engine compartment and loosen the brake fluid reservoir cap located on the driver's side of the firewall shown in the picture. 17. Temporarily install the old inner brake pad and proceed to compress the brake caliper piston using a tool similar to the one shown in the image. 18. Once the caliper piston is compressed, clean the contact surface between the piston and the brake pad with a towel and brake cleaner, and clean the other end with a wire brush followed by cleaning it also with brake cleaner and a towel. 19. Remove the caliper pins and clean them thoroughly with a towel. Once clean, apply a small layer of high-temp brake grease on them and install them in their original position. Likewise, apply a small layer of high-temp brake grease on the contact surface between the rear of the brake pad and the piston as well as on the opposite end of the caliper as shown in the image. 20. Install the new brake pads in their original position making sure that they sit correctly. Try not to touch the braking surface on the brake pad. 21. Apply a small layer of high-temp brake grease on the contact points shown in the image. 22. Install the brake caliper in its original position making sure that the brake pads sit correctly. 23. Tighten the caliper bolts firmly according to the specifications described in the owner's manual. 24. Install the rubber caps on the bolts respectively. 25. Install the anti-rattle spring in its original position using pliers as shown in the image. Proceed to replace the brake pads and brake rotor on the other side following the same steps. 26. Once the brake pads and brake rotors have been replaced on both sides, proceed to install the wheels and tighten the wheel bolts partially. 27. Lower the vehicle to the ground, tighten the wheel bolts according to the specifications described in the owner's manual and remove the wheel chucks from the rear wheels. 28. Press the brake pedal slowly a couple of times and check the brake fluid level in the reservoir. Add brake fluid if necessary and install the cap and tighten it firmly. That's how simple it is to replace the front brake pads and brake rotors on 2011 to 2018 Volkswagen Jetta.